From the moment 19-year-old Emily stepped into the small diner on the corner of 7th Avenue, something felt painfully wrong. Her fingers trembled around the only four crumpled dollars she had managed to save, the last money left after buying bus passes and helping her mother with groceries. She kept pressing the bills flat with her thumb, as if straightening paper could somehow straighten her fate. She had come for a blind date she never asked for, a date arranged by her coworker who claimed it would change her life. Yet all Emily could feel was the weight of poverty tugging at her coat sleeves, reminding her she did not belong in places where people came for love or luck. Just a few tables away, without her knowing, sat a young man in a charcoal sweater, the kind of man who looked like the world bent slightly to make space for him, someone who noticed everything she tried so desperately to hide. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the beauty hidden in ordinary lives, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel Act of Kindness. It helps us bring more heart-touching stories like this. Emily kept her eyes low, praying no one would notice her patched-up shoes or the fading buttons on her thrift store jacket. Growing up as the daughter of a maid in New Jersey meant learning to survive on little, to stretch every dream the way her mother stretched every meal. Her mother, Rosa, worked endless hours cleaning big houses with glass walls and infinity pools that looked out onto lives Emily could only imagine. Every evening, Rosa would come home with aching wrists, smelling faintly of bleach, yet she always smiled at Emily as if exhaustion was worth it for her daughter's sake. Emily's acceptance into a community college felt like a miracle they could barely afford, and she was working part-time at a small bookstore to help stay afloat. The blind date wasn't romance to her. It was a strange hope that maybe she could meet someone kind, someone normal, someone who would see her beyond her struggles. But as she sat at the booth, minutes ticked by and no one arrived. She checked her phone again and again until the battery flashed red. She felt embarrassment creeping up her neck, heating her cheeks. Her coworker had insisted the guy was sweet and totally serious about meeting her. Yet Emily couldn't shake the fear that maybe he had seen her earlier, maybe he had recognized her from the store, maybe he had turned around the moment he realized she wasn't someone worth showing up for. She didn't know that the young man at the next table, who continued watching with quiet curiosity, was silently piecing together her story from the way she bit her lip, the way she held herself like someone used to being disappointed. His name was Andrew, 21, son of one of the biggest real estate developers in New York, though no one ever guessed it from the way he dressed or carried himself. He was visiting the city alone, wanting a break from the suffocating expectations that came with his last name. He had grown tired of people treating him like a walking ticket to luxury, tired of being surrounded by friends who cared more about his father's money than his thoughts. That evening, he had come to the diner for peace. But instead, he found himself unable to look away from the girl with the trembling hands and eyes full of hope slowly fading. Emily finally gathered the courage to order the cheapest item on the menu, a cup of hot water with lemon, only 75 cents. It burned her inside to make that choice, but she needed something warm to hold, something to make the waitress stop looking at her with pity. She spent the next 15 minutes pretending to scroll through her dead phone, pretending someone was texting, pretending she wasn't one insult away from bursting into tears. The worst part was imagining how her mother would react when she came home. Rosa had been so excited, tying Emily's hair with careful fingers, saying she deserved to feel special for once. Emily couldn't bear the thought of telling her that she wasn't even worth someone's time. At the next table, Andrew wrestled with something he didn't quite understand. He didn't know this girl. He didn't know her name, her story, or why she looked like she was fighting the urge to disappear. But he recognized loneliness. He recognized pain. He knew what it felt like to sit in a crowded room and still feel invisible. He remembered all the times people judged him too quickly, all the assumptions made before anyone knew him. And something inside him refused to let her sit alone like that, in shame that didn't belong to her. Emily was about to stand up and leave when the diner door swung open, and a tall guy in a leather jacket strutted in, loud, confident, and annoyingly familiar. Her blind date. He spotted her, laughed, and walked over with an expression that already made her stomach twist. He slid into the seat opposite her without apologizing for being nearly an hour late, sniffed disdainfully at her lemon water, and leaned back like he was doing her a favor by existing. He talked about himself for several minutes, barely acknowledging she was there, then casually commented that he didn't do cheap girls and expected her to order something normal so he wouldn't look bad. Emily felt her throat tighten, her chest filling with humiliation she tried her best to hide. Andrew's jaw clenched. He had been listening unintentionally, but now every word made him angrier. He watched Emily attempt to smile through the insults, watched her shrink, watched her trace the rim of the cup with fingers that looked too tired for someone her age. He noticed the blind date's arrogance, his careless cruelty, and something inside Andrew snapped. When the guy finally stood up and told Emily, loud enough for everyone to hear, that she should dress better next time if she wanted real attention, she froze, unable to respond. Andrew couldn't sit still anymore. He got up and walked toward her table, his heart pounding with a mixture of impulse and anger he didn't fully understand. He placed a gentle hand on the table, surprising both of them, and said calmly that Emily was with him now, that the rude guy could leave. The blind date scoffed, threw a mocking comment Andrew's way, but when Andrew fixed him with a steady, unfazed stare, the kind that came from growing up around powerful people, the man's bravado crumbled enough for him to walk out with muttered irritation. Emily was left speechless. Her lips parted slightly, but no words came, because nothing in her life had prepared her for the kindness of strangers, especially strangers who stepped in not out of pity but out of genuine protective instinct. Andrew sat across from her, careful not to overwhelm her, and for a moment he said nothing. He didn't want to make the situation worse. He just wanted her to feel safe again. As the minutes passed, Emily slowly lifted her gaze to meet his. There was something gentle in his expression, something that didn't demand anything from her. He asked if she was okay. She nodded, though her eyes shimmered with unshed tears. He noticed the $4 crumpled dollars still tucked between her fingers and